All right, hello everyone. This is CIS256, and this lecture we're going to continue with last lecture's topic, which is the Django framework using Python. So, just as a review, Django framework is for server-side programming, and the basic web app you can think about as client and server interactions, right? So a client typically is your laptop, desktop, cell phone, your tablet, or even your watch, and then send a HTTP request. Typically, the web app is through HTTP hypertext transfer protocol, which is widely used in this kind of application. Information passed between the client and the server. So Django lives on the server, remember, right? Once the request is sent to the server running Django, it will be able to respond to the URL that the client sent, and it will look for its own code and see if there is a corresponding function or class that handle those requests, and it will do it accordingly. So that's the basic principle behind the it's a simple client server model. And then there is some status code returned from HTTP request. 200 is okay, 404 is not found, which is well known. If you hit 500, typically it's called internal server error. That means you have some error in Django, because if you implement the server in Django, that means the code may bring this website down, okay? So 500 is typically server error, okay? Now, last time we talked about how to install Django on your laptop and how to create a new project. And we also talk about using manager.py to basically create an app within the project. And if you hit the Python run server, it will show a typical Django demo application. Now, we also talk about how to install your own app. You add your app name into the installed apps list, and you populate the routes, the URL. In view.py, you define a corresponding function that corresponding to that URL, and you can simply return a HTTP response. All right. Now, we also talk about a simple hello world application and is there a Christmas similar website. Today, we're going to talk about another app, simple app that uses more features of Django's. So let's get started. Let's see. Here you go. So let's start by I just want to make sure that it's still working. So Python 3, manager.py, run server. All right, so this starts a server on port, listening on port 8000. So if you go back to this localhost 8000, and you can see there is admin hello new year that we implemented yesterday. Go to hello, you can say hello world, right? Django, go say hello Django. Okay, so Django is working, nice. What now? Let's start a new project, okay? Okay, let's see. So let's try to-do list, go shopping list, whatever you call it. So first of all, you want to start the app. You can run Python 3 manage.py and start app, and then the app name, right? And then it's called tasks. So once I do that, you can see now I have a new app called tasks, and a bunch of files created for me. Now you have to install that by clicking on, again, third time is the charm. You should know instead install py, I can add this new app by name. Oops, come on. Okay, so it's added. And we also had to go to urls.py to add this URL for the new app. Okay, called tasks. Okay, and then we need another, in the tasks, we need a url.py. Here we can add Django URLs, import pass, okay, and also from import views, okay, and you create a list of your patterns. Oops. And you have the first pass. I'm gonna do views dot index, and then name equal to index. All right. So that's, and go to views.py. You can create some views here. So let's begin by attempting to simply create a list of tasks in the memory and then display them to a page, right? So again, we can define a function index, which is the default route. We can return, we're gonna do render because we want to separate the model view controller, right? This is about controller. Because you see your HTML pages. We're gonna create that page later, but here you go. And then we can say tasks is. So we need to create this tasks. First of all, in the memory. Later on, you can see we can get this data from the database, but let's just do it in the memory first. Full bar. Okay, so we have that. Now, let's work on with some views. So template HTML file as you before. You want to create a new folder called templates. And we call it tasks, okay? And and then a HTML page called what do you call it? Index .html. So for typical stuff, doc type HTML, HTML, okay, head, title, body. In the body, we have all the list, and now using template, you can say for task in tasks. Right, this is the variable that we can pass into the page and list each item. Right, so that's that. And for one words. Okay. All right. So this is our index.html pages. So what if we run it? We have to save it first. We have to save all. And we're gonna run server. Okay, no errors. We go back to the web page. We want to run tasks. As you can see, the tasks full bar and bars is listed here. This is the HTML page that we just created a moment ago. Okay. Okay. So as you can see, it's very easy to create a Django app by adding those boilerplate files. We didn't. The key logic here is we just create a list, and this task is passed in. This list is passed in as a variable to the template index HTML, and we use a template to display them. Now, in reality, this is not enough. Because in a real app, we want the user to enter their items one by one from the web forms. So to add a new task through a web form, we need to change the HTML page, right? So we can add a new task first. First of all, start from a controller, right? So we're going to define a new function called add task, right? I'll just add. And add task, we have request, because request will have a method I will let you later. And can return render request. So we need to add this HTML to add the request. Now, of course, we need to add that path to the urls.py. Otherwise, Okay, so so if it's add, we're gonna do is.add, name is add. Doesn't need to be the same, but all right. So we get that. Now we create an add HTML file, which is very familiar to index.html. Sorry, here. Except that in the body, we'll include a form rather than this. So let me copy, paste, and we call it, rename it to add. In this, in the body, we don't have this list. Oops. Okay. So instead, we have a task. Okay. We have a form, action equal to and the input field type is text input field, right? These are the standard HTML page. So we're gonna create a user interface template. Sorry, a input form. Another field is a button called submit. All right. So the submit button is used to do the action. So far so good, right? We create a add URL. Now, this is good if we, let's save it. And then nothing wrong with that. If we go to tasks, let's do that. If we do add, you can see this is, we just added. So now, before we go further, I want pointing out something to you, which is redundancy here in these two HTML pages, right? There's some common stuff that we don't need to repeat ourselves, right? So we can use a Django templating language to inherit the base model HTML page for both pages. This allows us to create a layout HTML file that contains general structure of the page. So let's do that. This is a good practice, by the way. So if you see some comments in your code, trying to refactor it, right? So in this, so these are the boilerplate head. The title is the same for all pages. So that's our boilerplate. Oh, by the way, we need a, it's not done yet. So in this template, we have block body, okay? And then we have and block. The body is different, but header is the same. What's going on? Okay, I think that's it. Oh no, we also have body here. Forgot this tag. All right, so cut this and put it there. All right, so this is much better. Yes. All right, this is our template. Then in the index.html page, we so in the index.html page, we can inherit. We can say that we can get rid of all these. We can say this one extends from layout.html. So this is the common stuff. And then now it comes down to the block body. Okay. You get this index, right? URL and still for tasking tasks and li test. Okay. And then and for. Okay. So you can see we can extend the layout and do this. And same as the add, we don't need all this. Okay. So we can also get rid of this boilerplate, replaced with extends what? Tasks layout.html. Okay. And then in the block body, you can just simply add all this stuff. Right? You don't need a body. And block. Okie dokie. All right, so looks nice. So that's that, right? Now, so this is to simplify your code, but didn't add any new features in a task. Next is it's not ideal to have the type add in the URL, right? So if you go back, you have to type add in the URL to do the add. But in reality, we want to add some links between the tasks page. Oh, there's an error. You see in line 2, looking for one and block body. Next HTML. Okay. Probably forgot about this here. Probably forgot about this index.html. Yes. All right. So now if this is updated. If you run this again, you can see the Fugazi is still there. So it's not ideal, like I said, to type add in the URL every time you want to add something. You want to directly post a link at the submission here, right? To add this. So to do that, well, you have to sort of add this to your Django or HTML rather. So what you can do here is you add a what we call it hypertext. Hypertext. So in hypertext, you can say something like URL at percentage and quotation mark. There's quotation mark and add a new task. So basically, if you add this, to add is the name of the path. We can do a similar thing to our added.html because I don't want to. Sorry, add.html. We can say after the form, we can say tasks index up, and then view tasks. So in the add, when you finish adding, you want to view. When you view, you want to add, right? So in this, you want to add this. All right. So if you have done that, this could potentially create a problem. Okay. Let's see if that works. Let's refresh it. Nothing changed. Did I? Hold on. Save it. Come on. No, I didn't. Okay. Now you do. Add a new task. Oh. Task is not a registered user namespace. Mm-hmm. Okay, anyway, let's see why this is the case. Let's go back to the code. Okay, so we URL tasks add. Tasks index. This is oh. We want to create a app name because there may be multiple add and multiple index in different. See, we have index in template, New Year's app, also have in Hello app, right? We have index everywhere. So which apps index you're talking about? That's very difficult, to consider. So instead, we can here create a tag or wait a second. No, in the urls.py, sorry. Here, we can say app name. We can add app name equal to tasks, right? Once you do that, this is still the same. Now we can do something like task index and tasks add. So this is app name, like namespace, app name, the function you want to add, right? So this is why we need the app name to resolve namespace collision or something. Let's see. Now, if we go to add, you can see go view tasks, add, no problem, right? Go back and forth. So, okay, we create these two links to connect them back and forth. So it's a success. So what's next? What is next? All right. Now let's work on making sure the form actually does something when you click on it, right? Submit. How to do that? If we can do this by adding an action to the form we have created in HTML. So in this form, action is empty. Now we're gonna let them do something once you click the button submit, right? So what is the action? The action is, again, the syntax, URL. This tasks add is basically a function that implements somewhere else that will take the post data and do something about it. So this is where it directs, oh, you want to direct this to this route, to the tasks add route, and you specify you specify actions and method is called post. Right. So for those of you who don't understand the get and post method, get method, the parameter is embedded in the URL. Post is basically parameter, or the body is in the separate entities. So it's as part of the data setup, not the URL. Then many other things. So we want to use post. Now there is a problem though with post method in this way. So there's something called cross-site request forgery or CSRF attack. So which means, so basically our contention is once this form is submitted, right, this will be routed back to the add URL. We have specified that we'll be using a post method rather than a get method, which typically what we'll use anytime for form, or rather would alter the state of the web pages. So we need to add a bit more to this form because Django requires a token to prevent this cross-site forgery. This is an attack where a malicious user attempt to send a request to your server from somewhere else other than your site, right? They can mock a Bank of America website, ask you to log in, submit your credentials, and boom, your account is compromised. So all the formal bank will have this to prevent cross-site request forgery. Say, for example, I already give you an example. So to solve the problem, Django sends a response rendering a template. It also provides CSRF token that is unique with each session on the site. Then when a request is submitted, Django checks to make sure CSRF token associated with the request matches what's recent that it provided, that it authenticates you. Now, if a malicious user on the other side attempts to submit a request instead of you, they would not have this CSRF token. The validation is built into the middleware, so it will not be easily tampered. So in other words, what does that all mean is, let me save as, save, all right? So what this all mean is if we do this, add a new task and say submit, you can see CSI verification failed, request aborted, but you see this message, that means you forget about the CSIF token. So let's go back and add this to before our input. You want to add percentage CSRF CSRF underscore token. All right. So with that, you should be able to bypass the check. Well, satisfy his security features. So it adds a hidden input field with CSRF token provided by Django. When we reload the page, okay, let's save it. All right, let's go back to the page and refresh it. Continue. Come on. Now submit. You can see this is not, CFS warning is gone. If we inspect the page, you can see it added this CSI of token here, right? And it's a hidden field, so you won't be able to see it. But your adversary is desperate to know this, to be able to mock that it's the bank withdraws from you, and he got the money, right? No, so be careful about the security stuff. Okay. However, this is still not ideal, right? We can create a form by hand using raw HTML pages. Django provides a even easier way for us to do that. We don't need to actually know anything about HTML pages to create a form. Django create a class that you can use to add form in it. So let's go back to the views.py. Okay. And what we're gonna do is create our own view here. And we can use a class called new task form. And it's inherited from forms.form. In this class, we can just create a task. Variable is char field and label equal to new task. So you just need this line of code. You can create the same thing without HTML. Now, of course, you need to import Django forms. So from Django, import forms. Okay. We can create a new form within views.py. So what's going on with that new task form class? So inside parentheses, after the new task form name, we see that we have form.form included in the forms module. We have already seen how inheritance can be used in Django's template language and for styling using CIS, right? This is another example of how inheritance is used to take a more general description, forms class, and narrow it down to what we want, your new form. So inheritance is a key part of object-oriented programming. And we have already learned that in the early part of the course. Hold on. All right. So inside the class, the form class, we can specify what information we would like to collect from the user. In this case, we only need name of the task. So it's one field. That's why it's a char field. And we can label it a new task. Okay. So how can we use that? Now, in the render function, okay, we have a third parameter, which is, we can add the third parameter, a dictionary. So we're gonna form new task form. So here, if you give them the name of your class, the constructor, it will create a form from this class and pass it into here, additional, it's a value, right? So within add.html, you can replace input field with the form just created by get rid of this. And you can just say form. Okay, so now this form is created for you automatically. And that's it. There are several advantages using this method rather than manually writing HTML. So if you want to add new fields, you can easily add them in views.py without changing additional HTML. So otherwise, you separate this logic from the presentation layer, and in your controller layer, if you want to add more, you can just add another field here. And then this form will be updated automatically. And the other advantage is Django automatically performed client-side validation. What is client-side validation? Is in the JavaScript, it will already, when you put in your like information, user information, they will check your telephone number and their digits. is your birthday within some reasonable range, etc. Right? So that's client. So that's even before you submit the form to the server side, it will be validated there in the form. It's local to your machine, so you don't need a network to authenticate. And also, it of course provides the simple server-side validation occurs once form data has reached a server. In the next lecture, we can use some models store information, which is database. Django makes it very simple to create a form based on a model. All right, so now that we have a form set up, let's work on what happens when user click submit button, right? User navigate to the ad pages by clicking a link or typing the URL to submit the GET request to the server, which we already handle in our add button function. When the user submit the form, though, they send a post request to the server, which at the moment is not handled in the add function. How we can handle that? So let's do some checking. Wait. So before we render, we need to check a couple of things. First of all, want to check if it's post method. Right? This is important. So if request dot method is equal to post, that's the post come from form equal to new task form with request dot post. So if form is valid, this is a free function provided to you by Django. So it validates the form in the server side. Then we put it into task, right? Clean data. Yeah. We're gonna add a task to the tasks list. The session has a list that you can add on and return HTTP response redirect. Now, well, I'll expand everything that we typed here. Reverse tasks index. All right. So we have to import from Django URLs import reverse. Okay. So HTTP response redirect. Which is also need to be imported. All right, so reverse is a function, well, that looks for the name. Remember the URLs? You give them name. It looks for the name, index add, okay, and tasks index, tasks add, and find a corresponding URL for you. So you don't need to remember what URL it is. It will automatically give that to you. So if if you added the new form is valid, then you add it to that. You go to the directory, the list directory. Else, if form is not valid, right? If form is not valid, you have to do it again. Else, you can return render request tasks add.html. Form. So that's if it's post. Otherwise, you just return get method. So this is a get method. So you can see we are handling both the get method and post method in the same function. If it's post method, otherwise we just do the get method. Get method is just an empty form, and that's the post method. Okay, so let's save all. Let's see if we can see some improvements. So let's go back to this website. Let's just add new task. Let's say drink milk. There's an error. So build wildfire line 22. Request session task plus equal to task. Key error. So exception, there's no key error. Hold on. Let's see. So about the session, no. Let's comment out the session first, right? We can use the tasks first, okay? So I haven't touched session yet, tasks.append. We can append this to the tasks. And we can do that. And yeah. I think that's gonna do. All right, let's try it again. So add, say drink milk. Milk, food. Oops, add a new task. Drink. All right, you can see it's added. Add it again. Eat. Yeah. And sleep. So it's keep adding this to the list. Right? The session, but there's no way. Okay, so this is good, right? This is good. We create the tasks. We in the Django. Now, this is a trivial example, but there's a lot of concept that's very useful. So don't think this is trivial. Okay? There's a lot of good practice here. So we successfully build the application allows to add tasks to a growing list. However, it may be a problem. We store this in a global variable, right? We store in the tasks. And we cannot delete it. However, all of the users, so that which means that all user will visit the page, will see the exactly same list. In order to solve the problem, we need to employ a tool known as sessions. Sessions is a very way to store unique data instead of every time you start a HTTP request, a new request. Then for new client to visit. So you and I using different browser will not see the same data. So use sessions, we will first delete our global variable task. We want to delete that. So just comment out that. Okay, delete it. And then we other index function, make sure that anywhere else use a variable task replace with request sending task. So here we want to replace with request sending tasks, and here in the render function, the index function, we want to do this. Okay, index. I say if it's an empty key, right? Tasks. Remember that error we encountered before? Not in request.session. So there's this key does not exist. We create a key request.session. Each session in the request, I'm adding the tasks. Good. We start from an empty list. So instead of tasks, we call it request.session tasks. All right. So basically replace this global variable task with sessions key task, which we added initially to avoid empty key. All right. So once we do that, the good thing about this is if you're starting from new, okay, so add a new task, A, add a new task, B, add a new task, C, right? If you start a new incognito window, and you do that again, you can see you are doing this from from you. So you're not seeing other people's session. So you guys don't share the same content, right? Which is a good thing. All right. Anyway, so that's sessions. And finally, before Django will render this, we should do manager.py, Python-manager.py, migrating the terminal, and then we start it over again. Next week, we're going to talk about how using Django to store, access, and manipulate data, which is the model layer. Okay, so that's all for today. I wish you good luck with your homework and project, and try out this in a replicate or your own. I recommend your own PC. All right, thank you.